Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Work in Progress. It's a conversation series hosted by myself, Julian Lute, and Ed Fraunheim on behalf of Great Place to Work.
Work in Progress is designed for working professionals. Whether you're a people leader or an individual contributor, we want to keep it real and help you thrive. We're focusing on stories and experiences of people during this tumultuous time. We want to continue this focus with another example of how companies are creating a great workplace for all amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
This week, we are excited to be joined by two employees from an iconic company based in the Chicago area. Radio Flyer ranked number 19 on our best small and medium workplaces competition in 2019, and most recently ranked 14 on our best workplaces in Chicago list for 2020. Radio Flyer makes the little red wagons that generations of kids have loved, along with a host of other toys, tricycles, and accessories. Today, we're joined by Sam Sturgeon, Senior Product Development Engineer, and Arpit Kuvadia, Accounting Manager. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you to kick it off.
Great, thanks, Julian, and welcome, Sam and Arpit. Sam, let's start with you. Tell us about what you do at Radio Flyer.
Yeah, so I'm a senior product development engineer at Radio Flyer. I've been with the company for about 5 years, and my role is really driving product development by working with our design team to bring toy concept sketches to life through means of prototyping as well as engineering.
Super, it sounds fun. And tell us how the company's responded to the pandemic. Have you all continued operations, and how has it been to work during this time?
Yeah, I would say it's been business as usual, just a little bit different. So like most companies that value company culture, the team at Radio Flyer has quickly adapted to find new ways to connect with one another as we make this transition to the virtual workplace. But our team specifically with product development is still brainstorming new ideas. We're still working on our new product line. It's just done a little bit differently, more virtually, less in person. Got
it. Now, I want to ask you about something that struck us at Great Place to Work about Radio Flyer during this COVID-19 crisis, Sam. This is a quote from your CEO, Robert Pasin. "We will have no layoffs as a result of this pandemic." And he said that to all 80 Radio Flyer employees. What impact did that promise have on you?
Yeah, it had a big impact on me. My first reaction when he made that pledge was, whoa, that's a pretty bold statement. And mind you, that was even before anyone asked him about layoffs happening at Radio Flyer or not. So pretty bold statement. But then as I reflected more on it, that's been the theme of our leadership's communication throughout the pandemic. Robert, our CEO, our CWO, the Chief Wagon Officer, as well as our leadership team, they've always been one step ahead of the game in terms of communication. And I think Flyer's employees really appreciate how proactive they've been.
All right, and that's neat to hear about that proactive communication. It also strikes me that this no layoff pledge might be a good example of one of your values. I gather it's called the Little Red Rule, and it's every time we touch people's lives, they will feel great about Radio Flyer. Is that something that rings true to you in this case?
Yeah, of course. At Radio Flyer, we know it's important to live our values with everyone who interacts with Radio Flyer, and that includes our internal employees. So it gives me a sense of pride to work for Radio Flyer. And this pledge specifically made me feel a lot more secure and proud to work at Radio Flyer. It allowed me to really focus on my job. It freed me from any other outside anxieties. And I can just focus on making really awesome kids products that inspire them to be active and go outside and play.
All right, thanks a lot, Sam.
Arpit, let me turn to you with some questions. First off, what's it been like for you to work at Radio Flyer during the pandemic?
It's been a little bit crazy. I think I missed the class in accounting school where they taught us how to work through a pandemic. So it's been unusual to say the least, but it's been good. It was a little challenging at first to get used to working at home, but like all things, you sort of get used to it.
So this has been a stressful time for all of us. And the first thing you said was it's been, difficult to get used to. Can you talk a little bit about what the company has done to help protect and improve your mental health?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's been a few things that the company has done that I found really helpful when it comes to mental health. So one of the things that the company has done is we have an employee assistance program called Perspectives. And we had someone come and present at a Thursday company meeting about the different kinds of stress. And she also led a Wagon University, that's what we call our training courses, on meditation. So she taught a meditation 101 for all flyers so that everyone can sort of learn how to meditate and use that in their day-to-day. They've also kept some consistency. So we have summer hours again this year. We've had summer hours in the past. And with summer hours, it gives us a little bit of flexibility in what hours you're working, and you can have a Friday afternoon off. And we also got an extra day off when it came to the long weekend that's coming up with July 2nd. And I think the summer hours and the day off are really important because it gives you permission. Right now, the lines are sort of blurred between working at home and where is work and where is home. And so when you have this Friday afternoon, you can go out for a walk, or you can go play catch, or do whatever it is that you want. And you feel like you have this permission, which I think is really important for mental health. And same with the day off. I think that signals from Robert and our leadership team that they acknowledge that it is stressful and that people need time to recharge.
Thank you.
All right. Arpit, that's a neat set of policies you're describing there. But I want to ask you another question, asking you to put on your money guy hat here. And ask about part of the Radio Flyer response that really struck us during this pandemic that would affect the finance department. Your CEO, Robert Pasin, and the leadership team launched a new paid time off benefit that provided flyers with an additional 20 days of time to use in conjunction with COVID-19 challenges, like maybe having to pay for more childcare. So do you have any worries that this generous policy would break the bank? And how is it affecting you and your coworkers?
So no worries on breaking the bank, and it's actually been a great policy. So actually, personally on my team, I have two parents that tend to be the primary caregivers, and I found this policy to be super helpful in helping them. I think there's a lot in the psychological safety. I think you guys mentioned that in a different webcast, that Radio Flyer acknowledges that it is tough to have kids and try to work from home, and so to be able to communicate that to my team, to let them know, hey, it's okay to take an afternoon to watch your kids. At times are hard, and this is coming from the top down. It's not just me making this policy, it's coming from Robert. It's been great because they feel great about Radio Flyer, and when they are able to work, they're still producing great work.
That's great to hear. And I think you mentioned a little earlier before we started recording that the Radio Flyer philosophy around financial matters hasn't really changed that much. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that we've talked about before even COVID-19 had started was just cost savings. And that's a big part of our culture. All employees are encouraged to take part in it and find different ways that we can save costs while still producing a great product. And the messaging stayed consistent as we entered the pandemic. And actually, it shifted a little bit in that the company is being extremely generous and helping employees with expenses that they might have at home, helping out with the internet or any other sort of expenses you might have with supplies. And even going as far as if there's something you left in the office, they will ship it to you, which I found to be pretty handy.
That's awesome. Thanks, Arpit and Sam. I want to ask a final question for both of you, and we'll start with you, Sam. Your company is associated with bringing kids a lot of joy. How have you stayed positive on the job when it's been a stressful, sometimes grim time in recent months?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the nature of our job allows us to be fortunate in that regard. You know, we supply products that allow families to get outside. So one thing that I've been embracing is at lunchtime, I tend to get outside and take a walk around my neighborhood. And I see a lot of Radio Flyer products just in nature being used, and that really brightens my day.
That's awesome. And I have some too, so I'm probably one of those parents.
Perfect.
We're pulling a little Red Wagon around my neighborhood as well. What about you, Arpit?
Yeah, so I agree with everything Sam said in regards to just seeing kids enjoying our product. One other place that we've been able to find joy is that at least in our department, we're having a little bit of fun with birthdays. We're making birthday videos now, so everyone's sending in a short clip of them doing something silly. And we do a lot of video chats, and it's really cool to be able to see other flyers in their home environment. So sometimes we'll see some of those kids come and play, and we'll see significant others, and just seeing what different flyers and their styles even at home has been something to find joy in too.
Super. Sam, we also learned just before we started recording that you're going to have a baby soon. Can you talk a bit about what that's been like in terms of Radio Flyer support for you as someone who's about to be a new mom, or even just like what that's been like to be, carrying, a child to be during this pandemic?
Yeah, sure. So I think there are two components to that. There's the personal side and the professional side. Personally, it's not ideal to be pregnant during a pandemic. I know I'm not the only person in this boat. So in that regard, I've been staying pretty centered. And I think professionally with Radio Flyer, the consistency that I'm getting in my job is actually helping me personally. So because there were no layoffs, and that was very clear up front, it gave me the freedom to really focus in on my job, like I said earlier. And that's been a little bit of a distraction from COVID-19, which has been nice.
Super. Well, we want to thank both of you, Sam and Arpit, for joining us and sharing your experiences at this iconic company, and keep bringing the joy to the kids and the families that you do, please. And we want to thank all of our viewers today for watching this episode of Work in Progress. Again, our aim here is to help us get through this challenging time, and not just get through it, but to make progress toward our mission here at Great Place to Work, which is to say, building a better world through creating great places to work for all everywhere. So see you next time.